from the Constituent Assembly for India. Consequently, the total strength of the Assembly came down to 299 as against 389 originally fixed in 1946 under the Cabinet Mission Plan. The strength of the Indian provinces, formerly British provinces, was reduced from 296 to 229 and those of the princely states from 93 to 70. The state-wise membership of the Assembly as on 31st December 1947 is shown in Table 2.4 of this chapter. Other functions performed. In addition to the making of the Constitution and enacting of ordinary laws, the Constituent Assembly also performed the following functions. 1. It ratified the India's membership of the Commonwealth in May 1949. 2. It adopted the national flag on 22nd July 1940. 3. It adopted the national anthem on 24th January 1950. 4. It adopted the national song on 24th January 1950. 5. It elected Dr. Rajendra Prasad as the first President of India on 24th January 1950. In all, the Constituent Assembly had 11 sessions over 2 years, 11 months and 18 days. The constitution makers had gone through the constitutions of about 60 countries, and the draft constitution was considered for 114 days. The total expenditure incurred on making the constitution amounted to 64 rupees lakh. Held its final session. It, however, did not end, and continued as the Provisional Parliament of India from 26 January 1950, till the formation of new Parliament 8 after the first general elections in 1951-52. Committees of the Constituent Assembly. The Constituent Assembly appointed a number of committees to deal with different tasks of constitution making. Out of these, 8 were major committees and the others were minor committees. The names of these committees and their chairmen are given below. Major committees. 1. Union Powers Committee, Jawaharlal Nehru. 2. Union Constitution Committee, Jawaharlal Nehru. 3. Provincial Constitution Committee, Sardar Patel. 4. Drafting Committee, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. 5. Advisory Committee on Fundamental Rights, Minorities and Tribal and Excluded Areas, Sardar Patel. This committee had the following 5 subcommittees. A. Fundamental Rights Subcommittee, J.B. Kripalani. B. Minorities Subcommittee, H.C. Mukherjee. C. Northeast Frontier Tribal Areas and Assam Excluded and Partially Excluded Areas Subcommittee, Gopinath Bardoloi. D. Excluded and Partially Excluded Areas, other than those in Assam, Subcommittee, A.V. Thakkar. E. Northwest Frontier Tribal Areas Subcommittee, 8 6. Rules of Procedure Committee, Dr. Rajendra Prasad. 7. States Committee, Committee for Negotiating with States, Jawaharlal Nehru. 8. Steering Committee, Dr. Rajendra Prasad. Minor Committees. 1. Finance and Staff Committee, Dr. Rajendra Prasad. 2. Credentials Committee, Alladi Krishnaswamy Iyer. 3. House Committee, B. Pattavi Sitaramaya. 4. Order of Business Committee, Dr. K. M. Munshi. 5. One Finance and Staff Committee, Dr. Rajendra Prasad. 2. Credentials Committee, Alladi Krishnaswamy Iyer. 3. House Committee, B. Pattavi Sitaramaya. 4. Order of Business Committee, Dr. K. M. Munshi. 5. Ad hoc Committee on the National Flag, Dr. Rajendra Prasad. 6. Committee on the Functions of the Constituent Assembly, G.V. Mavlankar. 7. Ad hoc Committee on the Supreme Court, S. Vardachari, not an Assembly member. 8. Committee on Chief Commissioners Provinces, B. Pattavi Sitaramaya. 9. Expert Committee on the Financial Provisions of the Union Constitution, Nalini Ranjan Sarkar, not an Assembly member. 10. Linguistic Provinces Commission, S. K. Dar, not an Assembly member. 11. Special Committee to examine the Draft Constitution, Jawaharlal Nehru. 12. Press Gallery Committee, Usha Nath Sen. 13. Ad hoc Committee on Citizenship, S. Vardachari, not an Assembly member. Drafting Committee. Among all the committees of the Constituent Assembly, the most important committee was the Drafting Committee set up on 29 August 1947. It was this committee that was entrusted with the task of preparing a draft of the new constitution. It consisted of 7 members. They were 1. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, Chairman. 2. N. Gopalaswamy Iyengar. 3. Alladi Krishnaswamy Iyer. 4. Dr. K. M. Munshi. 5. Syed Muhammad Sadullah. 6. N. Madhavar. He replaced B. L. Mitter, who resigned due to ill health. 7. T. T. Krishnamchari. He replaced D. P. Ketan, who died in 1948. The Drafting Committee, after taking into consideration the proposals of the various committees, prepared the first draft of the Constitution of India, which was published in February 1948. The people of India were given 8 months to discuss the draft and propose amendments. In the light of the public comments, criticisms and suggestions, the Drafting Committee prepared a second draft, which was published in October 1948. The Drafting Committee took less than 6 months to prepare its draft. In all, it sat only for 141 days. Enactment of the Constitution. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar introduced the final draft of the Constitution in the Assembly on 4 November 1948, first reading. The Assembly had a general discussion on it for 5 days, till November 9, 1948. The second reading, clause-by-clause consideration, started on 15 November 1948, and ended on 17 October 1949. During this stage, as many as 7,653 amendments were proposed and 2,473 were actually discussed in the Assembly. The third reading of the draft started on 14 November 1949. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar moved a motion, the Constitution as settled by the Assembly be passed. The motion on draft Constitution was declared as passed on 26 November 1949 and received the signatures of the members and the President. Out of a total 299 members of the Assembly, only 284 were actually present on that day and signed the Constitution. This is also the date mentioned in the preamble as the date on which the people of India in the Constituent Assembly adopted, enacted and gave to themselves this Constitution. The Constitution as adopted on 26 November 1949 contained a preamble, 395 articles and 8 schedules. The preamble was enacted after the entire Constitution was already enacted. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, the then Law Minister, piloted the draft Constitution in the Assembly. He took a very prominent part in the deliberations of the Assembly. He was known for his logical, forceful and persuasive arguments on the floor of the Assembly. He is recognized as the father of the Constitution of India. This brilliant writer, constitutional expert, undisputed leader of the scheduled castes and the chief architect of the Constitution of India, is also known as a modern Manu. Enforcement of the Constitution. Some provisions of the Constitution pertaining to citizenship, elections, provisional parliament, temporary and transitional provisions, and short title contained in Articles 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 60, 324, 366, 367, 379, 380, 388, 391, 392 and 393 came into force on 26 November 1949 itself. The remaining provisions, the major part, of the Constitution came into force on 26 January 1950. This day is referred to in the Constitution as the date of its commencement, and celebrated as the Republic Day. January 26 was specifically chosen as the date of commencement of the Constitution because of its historical importance. It was on this day in 1930 that Poorna Swaraj Day was celebrated, following the resolution of the Lahore session, December 1929, of the INC. With the commencement of the Constitution, the Indian Independence Act of 1947 and the Government of India Act of 1935, with all enactments amending or supplementing the latter Act, were repealed. The abolition of Privy Council Jurisdiction Act 1949 was however continued. Experts Committee of the Congress. While elections to the Constituent Assembly were still in progress, on 8 July 1946, the Congress Party, Indian National Congress, appointed an experts committee for the purpose of preparing material for the Constituent Assembly. This committee consisted of the following members: 8b, 1 Jawaharlal Nehru, Chairman, 2 M. Asaf Ali 3, K. M. Munshi 4, N. Gopalaswamy Iyengar 5, K. T. Shah 6, D. R. Gadgil 7, Humayun Kabir 8, K. Santhanam. Later, on the chairman's proposal, it was resolved that Krishna Kripalani be co-opted as member and convener of the committee. The committee had 2 sittings, the first at New Delhi from July 20 to 22, 1946, and the second at Bombay from August 15 to 17, 1946. Apart from a number of notes prepared by its members, the committee discussed the procedure to be adopted by the Constituent Assembly, the question of the appointment of various committees and the draft of a resolution on the objectives of the Constitution to be moved during the first session of the Constituent Assembly 8c. On the role played by this committee in the making of the Constitution, Granville Austin, a British constitutional expert, observed, "It was the Congress Experts Committee that set India on the road to her present Constitution." The committee members, working within the framework of the Cabinet Mission Scheme, made general suggestions about autonomous areas, the powers of provincial governments and the centre, and about such issues as the princely states and the amending power. They also drafted a resolution, closely resembling the Objectives Resolution. 8d. Criticism of the Constituent Assembly. The critics have criticized the Constituent Assembly on various grounds. These are as follows: 1. Not a representative body. The critics have argued that the Constituent Assembly was not a representative body as its members were not directly elected by the people of India on the basis of universal adult franchise. 2. Not a sovereign body. The critics maintained that the Constituent Assembly was not a sovereign body as it was created by the proposals of the British government. Further, they said that the Assembly held its sessions with the permission of the British government. 3. Time consuming. According to the critics, the Constituent Assembly took unduly long time to make the Constitution. They stated that the framers of the American Constitution took only 4 months to complete their work. 8e. In this context, Naziruddin Ahmed, a member of the Constituent Assembly, coined a new name for the drafting committee to show his contempt for it. He called it a drifting committee. 4. Dominated by Congress. The critics charged that the Constituent Assembly was dominated by the Congress Party. Granville Austin, an American constitutional expert, remarked, "The Constituent Assembly was a one-party body in an essentially one-party country. The Assembly was the Congress and the Congress was India." 9. 5. Lawyer politician domination. It is also maintained by the critics that the Constituent Assembly was dominated by lawyers and politicians. They pointed out that other sections of the society were not sufficiently represented. This, to them, is the main reason for the bulkiness and complicated language of the Constitution. 6. Dominated by Hindus. According to some critics, the Constituent Assembly was a Hindu-dominated body. Lord Viscount Simon called it a body of Hindus. Similarly, Winston Churchill commented that the Constituent Assembly represented only one major community in India. Important facts. 1 elephant was adopted as the symbol, seal, of the Constituent Assembly. 2 Sir B. N. Rao was appointed as the constitutional advisor, legal advisor, to the Constituent Assembly. 3 H. V. I. Iyengar was the secretary to the Constituent Assembly. 4 S. N. Mukherjee was the chief draftsman of the Constitution in the Constituent Assembly. 5 Prem Bihari Narayan Rajada was the calligrapher of the Indian Constitution. The original Constitution was handwritten by him in a flowing italic style. 6 The original version was beautified and decorated by artists from Shantiniketan including Nandlal Bose and Beohar Ram Manohar Sinha. 7 Beohar Ram Manohar Sinha illuminated, beautified and ornamented the original preamble calligraphed by Prem Bihari Narayan Rajada. 8 The calligraphy of the Hindi version of the original Constitution was done by Vasant Krishan Vedya and elegantly decorated and illuminated by Nandlal Bose. Hindi text of the Constitution. Originally, the Constitution of India did not make any provision with respect to an authoritative text of the Constitution in the Hindi language. Later, a provision in this regard was made by the 58th Constitutional Amendment Act of 19878F. This amendment inserted a new Article 394- in the last part of the Constitution, i.e., Part 22(8)g. This article contains the following provisions. 1. The President shall cause to be published under his authority, i. the translation of the Constitution in Hindi language. The modifications which are necessary to bring it in conformity with the language, style and terminology adopted in the authoritative texts of the central acts in Hindi can be made in it. All the amendments of the Constitution made before such publication should be incorporated in it. 2. The translation in Hindi of every amendment of the Constitution made in English. 2. The translation of the Constitution and its every amendment published shall be construed to have the same meaning as the original text in English. If any difficulty arises in this matter, the President shall cause the Hindi text to be revised suitably. 3. The translation of the Constitution and its every amendment published shall be deemed to be, for all purposes, its authoritative text in Hindi. Table 2.1 Allocation of seats in the Constituent Assembly of India, 1946. SL. No areas seats. 1 British Indian provinces, 11, 292. 2 Princely states, Indian states, 93. 3 Chief Commissioners provinces, 4, 4. Total 389. Table 2.2 Results of the elections to the Constituent Assembly, July-August 1946. SL. No name of the party seats 11. Congress 208-2. Muslim League 73-3. Unionist Party 14. Unionist Muslims 15. Unionist Scheduled Castes 16. Krishak, Praja Party 17. Scheduled Castes Federation 18. 6. Non-Congress 19. Communist Party 110. Independents 8. Total 296. Table 2.3 Community-wise representation in the Constituent Assembly, 1946. SL. No community strength 1. Hindus 163-2. Muslims 83. Scheduled Castes 31-4. Indian Christians 6-5. Backward Tribes 6-6. 6-4-7. Anglo-Indians 3-8. Parsas 3. Total 296. Table 2.4 State-wise membership of the Constituent Assembly of India as on 31st December 1947. SL. No name no of members A provinces, Indian provinces, 2291. Madras 49-2. Bombay 21-3. West Bengal 19-4. United Provinces 55-5. East Punjab 12-6. Bihar 36-7. CP and Bearer 17-8. Assam 8-9. Orissa 9-10. Delhi 1-11. Ajmer Mewara 1-12. Coorg 1B Indian States, Princely States, 71. Alwar 1-2. Baroda 3-3. Bhopal 1-4. Bikaner 1-5. Cochin 1-6. Gwalior 4-7. Indore 1-8. Jaipur 3-9. Jodhpur 2-10. Kolhapur 1-11. Kota 1-12. Mayurbhanj 1-13. Mysore 7-14. Patiala 2-15. Rewa 2-16. Travancore 6-17. Udaipur 2-18. Sikkim and Cooch Behar Group 1-19. Tripura, Manipur and Lhasa States Group 1-20. UP States Group 1-21. Eastern Rajputana States Group 3-22. Central India States Group, including Bundelkhand and Malwa, 3-23. Western India States Group 4-24. Gujarat States Group 2-25. Deccan and Madras States Group 2-26. Punjab States Group 3-27. Eastern States Group I-4-28. Eastern States Group 2-3-29. Residuary States Group 4 Total 299. Table 2.5 Sessions of the Constituent Assembly at a glance. Sessions period. First session December 9-23, 1946. Second session January 2025, 1947. Third session April 28 to May 2nd, 1947. Fourth session July 14-31, 1947. Fifth session August 14-30, 1947. Sixth session 27th January 1948. Seventh session November 4th, 1948 January 8, 1949. Eighth session May 16th to June 16th, 1949. Ninth session July 30th to September 18th, 1949. 10th session October 6, 17, 1949. 11th session November 14, 26, 1949. Note: the Assembly met once again on 24th January 1950, when the members appended their signatures to the Constitution of India. Table 2.6 Time taken by the framers of other constitutions. 8H. SL. No. Country. No of articles. Working period. Time taken. 1 USA 7th May 1925, 1787 to September 17, 1787. Less than 4 months. 2 Canada 147 10th October 1864 to March 1867 about 2 years and 6 months. 3 Australia 128 March 1891 to July 9, 1900 about 9 years. 4 South Africa 153 October 1908 to September 20, 1909. 1 year. Table 2.7 Articles related to short title, commencement, Hindi text and repeals at a glance. Article No. Subject matter 393 short title 394 commencement 394 authoritative text in the Hindi language 395 repeals. Notes and references. 1. The cabinet mission consisting of 3 members, Lord Pethick Lawrence, Sir Stafford Cripps and A.V. Alexander, arrived in India on 24 March 1946. The cabinet mission published its plan on 16 May 1946. 2. These include Madras, Bombay, UP, Bihar, Central Provinces, Odisha, Punjab, NWFP, Sindh, Bengal and Assam. 3. These include Delhi, Ajmer Mewara, Coorg and British Baluchistan. 4. The Government of India Act of 1935 granted limited franchise on the basis of tax, property and education. 5. These include Baroda, Bikaner, Jaipur, Patiala, Rewa and Udaipur. 6. For the first time, the Constituent Assembly met as Dominion Legislature on 17 November 1947 and elected G.V. Mavlankar as its Speaker. 7. These are West Punjab, East Bengal, NWFP, Sindh, Baluchistan and Sylhet District of Assam. A separate Constituent Assembly was set up for Pakistan. 8. The Provisional Parliament ceased to exist on April 17, 1952. The first elected parliament with the 2 houses came into being in May 1952. 8A. One of the political consequences of the British government's statement of 3 June 1947 was that following a referendum, the Northwest Frontier Province and Baluchistan became part of the territory of the Dominion of Pakistan and as a result the tribal areas in this region became a concern of that Dominion. The subcommittee on the tribal areas in the Northwest Frontier Province and Baluchistan was not therefore called upon to function on behalf of the Constituent Assembly of India. B. Shiva Rao, The Framing of India's Constitution, Select Documents, Volume 3, p.681. The members of this subcommittee were Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan, Khan Abdul Samad Khan and Meher Chand Khanna. The information about the chairman is not found. 8. B. Shiva Rao, The Framing of India's Constitution, Select Documents, Volume 1, p.326. 8. C. Ibid. 8. D. Granville Austin, The Indian Constitution, Cornerstone of a Nation, Oxford, 1966, pp. 30-33. 8. E. See Table 2.6 at the end of this chapter. 8F. The 56th Constitutional Amendment Bill of 1987, after being passed by both the Houses of Parliament and assented by the President, finally emerged as the 58th Constitutional Amendment Act of 1987. 8G Part 22 is entitled as Short Title, Commencement, Authoritative Text in Hindi and Repeals. Originally, this part consisted of 3 articles only, Article 393, Short Title, Article 394, Commencement, and Article 395, Repeals. 8 H. J. R. Sivak, Dynamics of Indian Government and Politics, Sterling Publishers Private Limited, 2nd edition, 1990, p.10. 9 Granville Austin, The Indian Constitution Cornerstone of a Nation, Oxford, 1966, p. 8. T. 3 Salient features of the Constitution. The Indian Constitution is unique in its